Hey everybody, welcome back to Hammer Bros Gaming. I am Blades of God, and today we're going to be bringing you the newest installment in our alternative guide series for Gears 5 and the Master Escape maps. We're going to be doing this with randomizers for both maps and classes, with a couple of additional rules. The first rule is that we actually end up breaking this rule in this video, but we aren't supposed to be reusing any classes from the original guide that we did for the map that spins up. So for the map, we ended up spinning up the Gauntlet, and we're going to have Beardsley spin up right here, and on the first time we ran this map, he ran Anchor, but he spins up Pilot, so that's okay. If anybody spins up a class that is run, we are supposed to respin. Unfortunately, Pyro ends up spinning Tactician, and we all thought that he had run Demolitions the first time through, but it turns out that the Tactician class is actually a repeat class for this map, so I apologize for that, but again, we thought that he had been running Demolitions the first time through. I myself am going to spin up right now. The first time we ran this map, I ran the Gunner class, but you can see that I actually spin up Marksman as my class here. So the layout for this run is going to be the Gauntlet with Mr. Beardsley playing as Pilot, Pyro as Tactician, and I am the Marksman. Something else that we wanted to include as an additional rule is that the class that we spin up has to be at least level 7 in order for us to use it. So Beardsley, for instance, his Striker and Slugger classes are both only level 2 and 3, so if they were to come up on his spin, we would allow him to respin on that. Alright, so here we go. We're going to dive right into the map now. We are going to go over the modifiers for the map. They're the same as they were before, and I will be actually linking the original video with the classes that we recommend as our primary classes for this map in the description below the video. So we have regen penalty, more health, more lethal, faster venom, add bastions, Iron Man, and regeneration. The biggest pain in this map is the add bastions and the regeneration, as the bastions are going to always protect your either stumps or scions, or even the Warden that we face at the end. And then regeneration means that enemies will regenerate their health over time up to 100%. The big problem with that is that it happens very, very, very quickly. So if you don't keep bleed damage on your enemies, which only Pyro is really able to do bleed damage on this map, or on this run, I'm sorry, then they're going to regenerate very quickly, and with those bastions buzzing around, if you're able to take one bastion out and start damaging one of the boss enemies, the other bastion may come over and start shielding him, and his health will regenerate all the way back to up to 100%. Which may not sound like a big deal, but on this map there's not a lot of ammunition to be had, so you end up in a bind quite often where you have full health enemies and nothing to really do damage to them with. So here we go, we're starting out the map, we are coming out of the spawn room, there's only one path to follow. This level is, or this hive is very, very linear, it's very difficult to get turned around, but as you're coming down before the first big drop off, you're going to have an ammo room on the left and the right. There's nothing really in there that interests me as the marksman, but Pyro and Beardsley go in and they load up on grenades. Pyro's going to grab the torque bow that's in one of the rooms. That's very important for this strategy. And Beardsley is going to grab, I believe, the hammer burst, and we are now going to move forward. So our plan here, we end up spawning in two scions. You can get a stump here as well. But we ended up with a Mulcher Scion and a Salvo Scion. And you can see the Bastion is protecting the Salvo Scion, which is actually the better of the two Scions for the Bastion to protect. And originally our plan was to take out the Bastion first, but that Mulcher Scion just does so much damage so quickly and can lay down so much fire that we figured we would prioritize the Mulcher Scion, grab the Mulcher that he has, and then use that to take down the Bastion and take out the Salvo Scion. Something to note in this map is that you're going to want to keep yourselves spread out. You can see right now all three of us are spread out on opposite sides of the map. The reason we do this is that this way everybody will always have a chance to shoot at the Bastion. The Bastion is never going to be able to get to a spot where we can't keep damage on him and we can prevent him from regenerating his health. Same thing right now. You can see that Salvo Scion was looking at me, now he's looking at Beardsley, so you just take turns, call out whoever the Scion is looking at. The other two people can move in and continue to deal damage safely because that salvo scion isn't focusing on them. So now Pyro, as our tactician, is going to pick up that salvo that the scion just dropped, and we're going to continue to advance. And we're going to come through this hallway. We end up getting the drone spawn. You can get grenadiers here. You can get hunters here. So there's a few different enemy groups or enemy spawns that you can get. But we get the drones, which isn't exactly great because it doesn't give us a lot of weaponry to work with other than the shock grenade that I just picked up off of that elite drone. And we're going to continue up after we take these guys out. Something to note here, if you're not familiar with it at this point, is the triple melee execution, which if you're using a controller with a standard button layout, is B to melee, press B a second time to melee a second time, and then press and hold B a third time. So it's B, B, hold B. And what that's going to do is hit, and then stun on the second hit, and then you'll execute your enemy the third when you press and hold B. And that's very useful in this map when you don't have a lot of ammunition to work with. So you can see here, I ended up picking up the long shot, which makes sense as I'm playing the marksman, and I was falling back to grab ammo, and Pyro reminded me that there is actually a Marksa in the other ammo room that I forgot to grab, so I'm going to double back on myself again, fall back to grab the Marksa, and then I'm going to fall all the way back to that first boss room that had the Scions and the Bastion in it, and I'm going to pick up the 3 large ammo crates that are in that room, giving me, I believe, 7 shots with the long shot. Now, between my long shot being pretty much maxed out with the marksman cards as far as damage that can be done with ambush, critical hit, explosive headshot, and modified long shot, I deal quite a bit of damage, and even on master difficulty, this long shot with an active reload shot will take out a Scion in one hit. So that's very, very useful. It'll also drop a Bastion in one hit if you can hit the quote-unquote head of the Bastion. So you can see my allies on the minimap are sort of waiting for me to catch back up. The Venom is sort of catching up to us already, but we weren't trying to set a really fast pace here, so you could do this a lot more cleanly and probably give yourself a little bit more time where the Venom's not going to be pushing you so much. But you can see we're out of the early Venom, and Pyro was just saying that his resupply is ready. So as soon as we are done clearing this room, he's going to resupply so he can use the salvo. So we're going to clear all the little enemies out. You can see I'm trying to get a shot on the Bastion using my long shot, and there are 2 Bastions in this room, one protecting a stump and one protecting another salvo Scion. And unfortunately, I can't quite get a shot on that Bastion. But here we go. He's going to line up right out in the open. I miss my headshot, but I get it on the second time. So that Scion is open and he is vulnerable, but unfortunately the second Bastion abandons the stump and comes to protect him, but not a problem because I was able to get another headshot on that Bastion, and then Pyro just kind of lays into the Scion with the salvo, dropping him. Now unfortunately the stump moved up quite a bit here and has a fairly clean shot down this hallway at us. And we actually struggled with this quite a bit because there's not a lot of cover and there's not a lot of ways to close on that stump. And Pyro's used up most of his salvo at this point. Thankfully, his resupply was ready, so he's trying to get an angle on the stump where he's going to be able to drop his resupply and hit the stump with the salvo at the same time. So you're going to see him sort of creep off to the right a little bit and start launching that salvo to just try to get it around the door and hit the left side of the stump. So our right, the stump's left. And he's just going to keep firing. Thankfully, that resupply was resupplying his salvo as he shot, and he was able to get enough bleed damage on the stump to kill it. So we're all going to move up. Beardsley is actually going to grab that tri-shot, and Pyro's going to grab the salvo that the Scion dropped. And I'm going to continue to push up. I didn't think that there was going to be... I thought there was going to be Juvies here, not Amagos. So I almost get downed right here because I was a little bit overconfident with my advancing. But thankfully Beardsley and Pyro are right there with the heavy weapons to clean them up. So now we're going to push up again. And in this hallway, again, you can get Grenadiers, you can get Hunters, or you can get drones. We get a second batch of drones, which is probably the easiest to take out. But again, it doesn't give us anything in the way of power weapons. If we have the Grenadiers, we're going to end up getting shotguns, which is really good. Or we're going to get the Hunters and end up with torque bows for Pyro using that explosive bleed and explosive damage on from the Tactician. But we only get the drones, so here we are. We're just kind of laying into them, taking our time. You could do this a lot quicker. Again, you get the triple melee execution at your disposal if you wanted to close on them. And you can see right here that drone managed to start regenerating his health, but Pyro hit him with one more salvo shot and that dropped him. So again, I'm going to fall back. The Venom is really pushing us at this point, so I wasn't able to get as far back and get as much of the ammo as I wanted, but we had one more crate right there. So again, I have 7 shots with my long shot. I have a full Marksa and a full Boltok, so I'm sitting good with ammo. Beardsley picked up a Claw, so he's running a Claw right now, which he really enjoys using, so that works well for him. And in one of these ammo rooms, there is another long shot, so I'm actually going to grab that just for another bullet or another shot. There's frag grenades and torque bows in this room, which is wonderful for Pyro running the Tactician, and there's another Marksa if you need to top off your Marksa. But like I said earlier, my Marksa is completely full, so I don't really need it. That leaves it for anyone else to grab it if they want it. The long shot is in this room, so I'm going to, like I said, going to come grab that. That's going to give me one more shot, which brings me up to 8. And thankfully, at this point, my X-ray was ready because we found that this is probably the easiest way to tackle this next room. I'm going to run up to almost to this ledge and activate my X-ray, and you can see we had a Bastion that was protecting the stump, and with that headshot, I managed to take out the stump and a Juvie, and I was able to take out the Salvo Scion. So basically, we just took out the 2 bosses and the Bastion in this next room, and all that's left are some Juvies. So we're going to continue to advance, and there's not much to say in this room because I'd already cleaned up most of the difficult part of the room by taking out those bosses. So go ahead and scout out whatever ammo is available. You're going to have the weapon that the Salvo Scion, I think it was a Salvo Scion, and the stump dropped, which should be a Tri-Shot. But as you come up here, you're going to want to have your Tactician get ready with his salvo because you're going to have a Warden come down. You can see I picked up a salvo. My plan was to try to hit the the Warden and slow him down with this salvo, but didn't end up working. He ended up downing Pyro, but between Beardsley's freeze damage and my salvo, we took him out pretty quickly. And then we ended up having a Magos kind of rush us. I hadn't seen before where we had this many enemies pushed down this far from the next room, but it ended up working out okay because instead of having one huge push of enemies all at once, we sort of had 1 or 2 at a time coming down. So that is a viable strategy you could use to sort of kite the enemies down to you rather than going up and trying to fight all the enemies that are in this room with the Hunters, the Grenadiers, and everything else. At this point, Pyro was actually wanting to use this resupply, so we all fell back, and he was waiting for the early Venom to catch up so he could get the explosive resupply. And he's in the early Venom now, so we're falling back into that resupply ring. There is the Breaker Mace available from the Warden that you can see it was right under my feet there. And you could take that if you want it. It's very useful, especially with the door hold coming up. But with our class setups, we decided to stay with the weapons that we had. And we're just going to push ahead because, believe it or not, most of the enemies in this next section have already been dealt with just by them trickling down by themselves. So you see we get an Imago, and then up the small ramp ahead of us, we actually have a couple of Hunters and I believe Grenadiers to deal with. But again, at this point, it's not very much to deal with at all. Oh, there's another Imago as well. But I ended up getting downed. Again, not a big deal. Just communicate with your teammates and let them know if you get down so they can help you back up. We've got plenty of time. Most of the enemies, like I said, have been dispatched, and we are almost at the door hold. So one nice thing about this map is that the room on the left, you're going to see me come over here right where Pyro's standing actually. That is where almost all the enemies for this door hold spawn in. So we're going to set grenades here. I'm going to use shock grenades to help clean up a lot of the Juvies, and then Beardsley and Pyro are going to run back and set whatever they had for grenades, which I believe Pyro was running frag grenades, and Beardsley had another shock grenade. So we all went down, set the grenades that we had, and then we're going to come back up to the door, and Pyro actually requested that we wait for as long as possible because he was trying to get his ultimate to recharge again, but you can see right there it's only at 3/4 recharge, and it definitely would not be ready by the time the Venom closed the door. Also, I reminded him that Beardsley, who is playing as the pilot, still has the Silverback available, which he has not used at all this map, but he's going to use it here at the door hold to clean up any of the enemies that happen to get by the grenades. There are quite a few enemies. There are Juvies, there's Grenadiers, there's Scions. You can see here I'm going to activate my X-ray and just try to take out as many of the enemies as I can, hoping that that explosive headshot is going to help take out a few other enemies. I was late with my shot there. The X-ray had ended quite a bit earlier. And here we were just yelling at Beardsley that he had to get out the door because the door was closing. So he turned and booked it out with his Silverback. and just continue to lay fire into that door until everything was dead. And that's it, guys. That is our alternative strategy guide for getting through the Gauntlet on Master difficulty. We do hope that you found this helpful, and if it did, stick around because we're going to be having more guides coming up. Until next time, take care of yourselves, everybody, and bye-bye.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more content like this, please like and subscribe. You can also check us out on Twitch at Hammer Bros Gaming. I am Blades of God, and until next time, have a great day everyone.